We called her Spacegirl. Her real name was Megan Daniels, but no one ever used it. She had been known as Spacegirl since the 2nd grade. She stood out in every crowd she joined. She had long red hair and very pale skin. She wore thick glasses that looked like soda bottles. Spacegirl was always quiet. She stayed away from us during recess. She didn't play with the other kids. Most of the time, she found a lonely spot to sit. She would pull out a small notebook and start writing. Sometimes it was poetry. Other times, it was just sketches. She lived in her own little world. Looking back, I understand why we targeted her. She was different. She was alone. That doesn't excuse what we did. But kids can be cruel when they are young. One girl named Sasha told me a lie. Sasha said Spacegirl's mother was on drugs. It was probably a lie, but we all believed it. Sasha was the meanest of us all. She never stopped picking on her until the very end. The trouble started in the 5th grade. One day, it was raining during our indoor recess. Spacegirl sat in the corner at her desk. She was focused on a drawing in her notebook. Sasha and I were sitting nearby. We watched her work for a long time. Then Sasha whispered something to me. She said she couldn't believe they let retards stay in class. She laughed about how Spacegirl wouldn't learn anything. Then another girl named Tanya joined in. Tanya told a disgusting lie about Spacegirl's home life. She claimed people visited Spacegirl's house for money. We were too young to understand the gravity of that word. Spacegirl paused while she was drawing. Her eyes moved away from her paper. I think she heard us talking about her. Sasha stared right back at her. Sasha asked if she had a problem with them. The teacher was far away at the other end of the room. Sasha felt like she had permission to be mean. Spacegirl didn't say a word. She just looked back down at her book. But Sasha took that silence as a challenge. Sasha checked the teacher's desk first. Then, she stood up and walked over to Spacegirl. Sasha asked what she was doing in there. Before Spacegirl could react, Sasha grabbed the notebook. Sasha yelled about how old she looked. She tossed the book to me. I took it out of pure instinct. It was a drawing of a unicorn. The colors were bright and the art was actually good. I would never have admitted that to anyone. Tanya grabbed the book next. Spacegirl just watched us, looking helpless. Tanya mocked her for not being able to draw. Then, Tanya ripped the page out of the notebook. Spacegirl let out a tiny whimper. It sounded like she had been physically struck. The crumpled paper hit the floor. Tanya told her to draw something better next time. Sasha giggled at the mean joke. Spacegirl slowly picked up her book from the ground. She wouldn't look us in the eye. She looked like she was shrinking inside herself. She looked at me for just 1 second. I felt a pang of guilt in my chest. But I didn't say anything to stop them. I walked away and joined the other kids. From that day on, Spacegirl became an easy target. Every time we went outside, she sat under the same tree. She always had her notebook out. We would lean against the trunk of the tree. We would look over her shoulder to mock her work. Sasha would tell her the drawing looked like it hit a truck. There was never a single kind word from us. We always found something mean to say. One day, Sasha asked Spacegirl to draw her. Sasha joked that maybe she'd look like a person. Spacegirl didn't look up at all. She tried to ignore the insults we threw. I won't pretend I was an innocent bystander. I was there with them many times. I joined in on the jokes because it was what we did. Almost everyone in school hurt her in some way. But she never complained out loud. She was probably just too scared to speak up. Then came late December of 7th grade. Things began to spiral into something much darker. A rumor started about a boy named James Hardy. James was small and looked very nervous. He acted like he was the toughest kid in school. People heard his father had been at Spacegirl's house. Rumors flew about their lives falling apart. Then people claimed they were dating each other. This made James very angry and defensive. One afternoon, some boys decided to pull a prank. They set up mistletoe in the hallway. They caught Spacegirl behind a door during recess. They pushed her toward James as he walked by. They snapped a photo of them together. I was standing right behind James when it happened. Spacegirl flew out from behind the door. Her eyes were wide with genuine fear. She slammed into James and hit the floor. The other boys started laughing loudly. They shouted that she wanted to kiss him. Spacegirl tried to crawl away from him. She reached for her notebook on the ground. But someone kicked it out of her reach. She looked back at James with tears in her eyes. She was terrified by everything happening around her. She didn't want any part of this joke. But she was caught right in the middle of it. James became furious and lost his control. He screamed at the other boys. They kept mocking him and telling him to kiss her. Someone pushed Spacegirl toward him again. James glared at her like she was the cause of his pain. She tried to stand up and run away from him. But he was angry and wouldn't let her leave. He grabbed her and struck her across the jaw. Then he threw her to the ground. He chased the other boys down the hall. A teacher finally had to step in to stop him. James, Spacegirl, and the other boys were suspended. We didn't see Spacegirl for the rest of the year. We never saw James or his friends again. Then, a tragedy struck on Christmas Eve. There was a terrible car accident on the local highway. A car swerved off the road to miss an animal. The driver and their children did not survive. On December 27th, another tragedy occurred. James was found dead in his driveway. My parents told me he was attacked by a deer. It seemed very strange for that area. I had never heard of animals attacking people like that. Then came the day before New Year's Eve. I went to Sasha's house to go shopping with her. Her parents were out for the night. She told me she had something to show me. She said it was going to be very funny. She led me upstairs into her bedroom. I saw a familiar notebook sitting on her desk. I walked closer and felt my heart race. I asked her where she got that specific book. Sasha gave me a strange, cold smile. She told me Spacegirl dropped it during the prank. She said she just picked it up for safekeeping. As I looked at the notebook, I realized something. The pages weren't filled with drawings of unicorns anymore. They were filled with names and dates. There were photos of everyone who had bullied her. At the very end, there was a photo of the car crash. Underneath that photo was a single sentence. It read, "I hope you enjoyed the joke." The realization hit me like a physical blow. Sasha wasn't just being mean, she was planning something. Then I saw the last page of the notebook. It wasn't a drawing at all. It was a list of people who were still in our school. I looked at Sasha, and her smile never faded. She didn't look like a girl having fun anymore. She looked like someone who had won a game. The question is, did she know what would happen to them? Or was she just the one who kept the records of the victims? What would you have done if you saw that notebook?